Just following up from what Andrew said, I wanted to congratulate Chris Fagan, the Brisbane Lions. Chris, in particular, has endured some personal heartbreak and criticism both this year and over the last 2 years in particular, and to bounce back, is a real credit to the person that he is. So congratulations to Chris and the Brisbane Lions. I've got a couple of, I think someone else is having a chat about the retirees, but I've got a couple of boys here I just got lined up on my left that I might have to say a couple of words to. Reedy and Kim, I'm not going to probably say too much about you two guys, if that's okay, because it was at the press conference and I said plenty, so that someone will tell me to shut up. But a thank you for you two. I just wanted to say once again, I know I said it before, but thank you for the contribution that you two have made for this footy club. We've got two retiring premiership players from 2012 in the room, so thank you to you guys. And to Parks and Kate, and it's Parks and Kate because it's not one or the other. And I'll say that and what that means to the footy club in a minute. But to Parks in particular, pick number 40, Parks, was it? And how you can slip through to pick number 40. I remember, Kinnear, we were sitting at the draft when your name was still on the board, and we just didn't expect it to be there. And we sat there, and Kinnear said to me as we were going through the order, this bloke's still there, and we'd seen a lot of your vision, loved what you were, loved you're a real hard bugger, and great mark for your size and all the stuff that you've shown. I can't take credit for it. It was Kinnear, but he said, this kid's been a champion all the way through, from junior footy, year after year after year after year, and kept winning best and fairest. And surprise, surprise, you've done the same thing in your AFL career. And so I probably need to thank Kinnear. But there's many things that stand out about Parks. Everyone knows how tough he is, and I'll give you an example, a quick story about that. And he broke his jaw. How old were you, Parks? 19. So he turned up and had his shocking tipped hair, and he came into the club. He admits it was shocking, but there's a couple of things remind me of Parks. I think in his first year we dropped you, and I think you walked into my office as an 18-year-old and said, and you had tears coming down your eyes, and you said, how do I get back in the team? I think you're almost shaking. How do I get back in? How do I get back in? And I remember when we were talking about the sub jumper in the 2012 grand final, we were talking about a young Luke Parker versus other options. And the leaders at the time, the coaches at the time, I explained that story to them, and it was just, you got to play Luke Parker. And just because of who you are and what you're about. You broke your jaw at 19. Well, I think we sent you back home for a week or two. You went back home, came back. I think it was only a week. It was probably wide up in about 5 spots. But when you got back, said to you, are you right to play? And his dad, Wayne, obviously in a hand of great supporters of his career, he said, yeah, I'm right to go. And I said, how do you know that? He said, well, the old man whacked me on the chin 2 days ago. And he said, how did that feel? And Luke said, no, pretty good. And he said, well, you're right to go. That was a fitness test. That happened, didn't it? It's not a lie. That happened. So there's no, Luke's come through and been able to do what he's done in his career has been extraordinary. We've been really fortunate to have him at our footy club for such a long period of time. There's so many memories of him as a player on the ground. The things that I remember of him are just that he trains every session. Now, that mightn't sound like a great memory, and surely there's plenty more memories of Luke than that, but when you've got a player that's played for as long as Luke that just trains every session, week in, week out, pre-season in, pre-season out, and that's why he gets better. That's probably my... the consistency of Luke has been the thing that's really stood out. So, Luke, thank you for your contribution to this footy club. Thank you for playing nearly 300 games at the highest level. Thank you for being so consistent. Thank you for being a captain. Thank you for everything you've done at this footy club. And on behalf of the footy club, and I'm sure you'll get up and have a chat in a minute. But thanks very much, mate. And now, I was lucky enough to, we had Reedy and Kim, obviously, and now I'm just going to turn my attention to the real strength of the relationship, which is Kate. And, as a young playing group coming in, I don't know, how old were you guys when you met? About 20. Great story. It's changed Luke's life. He was lucky enough to meet Kate when he moved to Sydney. A great story. Kate was young, obviously 20, just coming into what life's about, I guess, in a lot of ways when they started going out, and then from the moment she walked to the footy club, it was she was just a really good person and helped bring the girls together, and particularly as she got older, and a really important glue around the footy club. A good person. Whenever anyone, staff people, just talk about who one of the girls are that you need to speak to get everyone together, it was always Kate's name that came up. So thank you, Kate, for what you're able to do to this footy club. Thank you. Thanks very much to the football. I just want to sort of acknowledge the football club staff and partners. If you want to get an idea of how big the football club staff and their partners and their families are, just have a look at the travelling party that went to Melbourne last week, and it was just extraordinary. It's a bloody big footy club, and I wanted to acknowledge everyone in our football club, right across the board, from board to executive to all the staff, to all of their partners, all of their families. Steph and Phoebes, I don't know, you did it. I can't get my head around the job you guys did last week. And that's just an example of what many people do and work at, hours and hours and hours on end. Many for not much money, but it is really appreciated. Everyone makes the footy club tick, so thank you. And thanks also to, I know this has been mentioned before, thanks to Rob and Damo. Where are you, Rob? Ange here. Okay, mate. Rob's going to Carlton, is that right? Going to the Blues. But I wanted to thank you, Rob. A few years ago you came up and as a 2IC, and you guys, you and Damo, jumped into that department. And our injury record and our fitness and conditioning over the last few years has been outstanding. So good luck, mate. Thank you to you, and also to Damien Truslove. Righto. As difficult as it can be just 6 days post the disappointment of the grand final, I hope that all of us, players, staff, supporters, can spend most of tonight reflecting on the season that was and the many extraordinary memories that were made this year. And you can see just some of those on the screen tonight. From the walk to the ground at the SCG in round one, and we're all not quite sure how that'd go, but everyone got a great thrill out of that, to the look and feeling of pure joy in the faces of the supporters and players when that siren sounded 19 times this year when we were in front. It was an extraordinary season. And we most importantly need to celebrate what this night is all about, the players and the extraordinary feats on the field this year. In our review meetings this week, and for those of you that don't know, and the players after the last game, when they've thawed out a bit, come in for 3.5 days of exit meetings, and we've just gone through those as staff over the last few days. We had 45 players come through, and I've never reviewed such a high number of players who have had their very best year ever, and this alone is some sort of success measurement. However, I'm also a realist, so I understand that now I need to talk about the grand final, which I'll do. At this exact time 7 days ago, I sat by myself on the couch in our hotel and reflected very briefly on the work we had done as a team, as a club, and as a supporter base over the previous 12 months. I included the supporters because you also had done the work, and like the players and staff, had enjoyed the ride as much as any other year that we've ever had. However, my in-season reflections never really last too long, a minute or two at best. My mind was actually really doing a quick checklist over the last couple of years to make sure we were as prepared as we could be for another grand final. Like any coach would be, I was a bit nervous, a bit on edge, but I felt at peace knowing, or at least thinking, that we had ticked every box, done everything we could do to give us the best opportunity to take home the flag. A mere 6 days later, 120 minutes of football having been played, I stand here today and am trying to put into words my reflections on a game that did not go to plan and was not keeping in with who we were as a group and didn't represent the brand of footy that delivered us the equal best season in regards to wins in our club's history. Reflections are just that, reflections, because what I cannot give you right now are all of the answers. I can give you observations, I can give you metrics, I can tell you the areas of the game we fell down, I can quote our pressure rating and tell you what needed to be better for us to have a greater impact. But none of that are really answers. And I don't apologise for this, because the reality is football is a game that is played by young humans who are stepping into an arena of many emotions. Every player in that arena steps towards the challenge with an intention to perform at their best and win the battle. But the reality is not all of us achieve this. And we don't always have the black and white answers some people expect just 6 days later. It's the why we're all searching for right now. The players, coaches, the administrators, and of course our fans. If we knew why straight away, then we can fix it and maybe feel a bit better. That's what we all tell ourselves. But after 14 years of being head coach and 37 years of being involved in this game at the highest level, what I can tell you is that no one will ever know the exact reason why. They will have theories and make assumptions and often come back to black and white conclusions, but we can never, ever truly know why. However, what I do know for sure is that the way forward for this team and this club is to stop focusing on the why and start looking for the what, and most importantly, the how. What did we learn? What do we need to change? What areas do we need to grow in? What will help this team become even more consistent and even more resilient? And how do we need to do this? And as I said to the players this week, this is at the very, very pointy end. It can be fraught with danger to assume what others are thinking or to walk in their shoes for a bit. However, as a head coach, or really a manager of people in any industry, this skill is a prerequisite for the job. So yesterday is just one part of trying to come up with the words for you all tonight. I tried to think of every other club who didn't play in the grand final. Their players, their staff, their supporters, and what would they be thinking? 100% certain everyone would be thinking, I wish I was Brisbane. And maybe some of them would possibly also be thinking, particularly in the immediate aftermath of the game, I'm glad I'm not Sydney. And at this point that I paused, I just thought, is that really correct? This is where we get on to Parks. As we say farewell to Luke Parker tonight, 26 times he stood there arm in arm with his teammates and listened to the playing of the national anthem before a final. 26 times. That's over, yeah. That's an extraordinary feat and go down in the top group of this club's history. That's over an entire extra season of football played at the very highest level, in front of the biggest crowds, under a huge amount of pressure. 5 times Parksy's had the opportunity to experience the feeling of walking into his club with Kate on a Sunday morning after a prelim final, grab some breakfast with his mates, and organise how many tickets he needs for his excited family. 5 times he's jumped in the back of the ute at the start of the grand final parade with his teammates and seen the smiles of the kids dressed in red and white smiling back at him. Actually, one time he was in a boat with his coach, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. And yes, mate, of course it would have been great to send him off with another flag. Believe me, we know that it's much, much more than just about participating in a parade. So, as I was trying to make sense of the result last Saturday, I was thinking, what other players from other places would they really want not to be Luke Parker? To not have those experiences, including the heartbreak, as well as the opportunity to grow even further, as a player, as a person, as a husband, and as a future father. It's on this last point, the most important point in life, that I'll let you all in on a text message that I received on Monday morning from my son. It was accompanied with a Frank Sinatra song, That's Life. And yep, it shocked me to the core that he had a song on his playlist that actually had words. It read, and please, as I explained to the players when I sent this to them, that this isn't just about me, even though a little bit of it is. There's actually a message in this. The text from my son said, and I quote, "You know what the most impressive thing about your playing career was? Not the Coleman medal that you won at 19, and in brackets he said that you keep telling us about, but it was your ability to persevere from setback after setback. To have a knee reconstruction at 22 and get back to play in 5 months' time, at that time a record. To have your second knee reconstruction 2 years later and miss out on a flag with your mates and stand there and watch them all get a medal on grand final day. To then be in and out of the reserves, to then missing out on a selection in another grand final. To keep chipping away and still be fronting up year after year, ring out 200 games and then win a flag in your very last game. Maybe that's why it was so sweet for you in the end. It was as much about your journey as it was the destination. Not to mention working as one of just 18 coaches in the country where even the very best in the history of the game lose 1 in 3 games, or even dealing with personal heartache like seeing a mum pass away with cancer too young. After reading this text, it became clearer. And at this point, I just want to say it's funny how I learn more from young people than I can in fact teach them, whether it's my kids or it's the playing group. They teach me more than I can teach them. The most growth in my life has come from not succeeding, but from hardship, from challenges, from things that didn't go my way. And sometimes they didn't go my way a number of times. Last week's experience, coupled with a similar feeling from 2022, will never feel good for any of us. It will make us uncomfortable, heavy, regretful, disappointed. But what it will do, if we choose to look through the lens of growth and resilience, it can make us even better at the very, very pointy end. I can say this because challenge, failure, hardship, they provide us with an opportunity to really look at ourselves. The AFL competition is made up of 18 clubs, 800 players, 120 coaches. Every year these individuals show up to this game and try to be better. We all explore, we all work hard, and we all come up with a new game plan. We just try and do things differently every year. But our exploration, our questions will be just a little bit deeper. Our focus will just be a little bit sharper. Our accountability a little bit stronger. Because that's what deep pain can do. It can fuel you and propel you forward with an intensity that only comes from the hardest of lessons and the most painful of challenges. In one of my few moments this week when I was tossing things around in my head, I was reminded about a Chinese proverb, I think that's what it was, that I gave my mum when she was diagnosed with cancer some years ago. She put it up on the fridge in the farm that I grew up in. And so where you walk into the front door of our house, the farm, you walk straight in, the first thing you see is a fridge. That's why I like my food. Blame mum. But she put it up on the fridge, so it was the first thing you saw when anyone walked through the door when she was real crook. Out of the hottest fire comes the strongest steel. Out of the hottest fire comes the strongest steel. The football we delivered across 22 rounds of the regular season and 2 finals this year was absolutely exceptional. And was to a level greater than the year before and a level greater than any other team in the competition. This club knows how to grow when faced with challenges, even going back a long, long time. Who would have thought 150 years ago this year at Temperance Hall, or in 1981 on the steps of the Opera House, at the birth of the national competition, or when losing 26 games in a row in the early 90s, that it would even be considered at any of those times that anyone associated with the club would be disappointed in another grand final loss. I am very, very proud of the growth in this group of players this year. I'm also proud of the role that you, the supporters, played in this as we all grew together. The dust will settle. The right balance will be achieved between the pain of the week and the joy of the season. And the club will move forward to get better once again. Congratulations to tonight's awards winners. You're all an absolute pleasure to coach this year, and good luck again to Parks and Kate. Thank you.